Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
My ex-BF proposed to his new GF at my sister's wedding. My sister didn't warn me and now I'm too angry to let go. I don't want to make this post too lengthy, but I'm going to need all the help I can get on not resenting my sister for what she did. I'm curious whether I'm being a bitter lady and a grumpy loser. This is what I've been hearing from my relatives, not the exact wording but the sentiments. My, female 31, former boyfriend ended our relationship after about 1.5 years by essentially ghosting me and not responding my calls or messages. This occurred in February/March of 2020. I was receiving strange messages with content in the week coming up to his breaking up with me, and he noticed one of them. I attempted to explain that I didn't know the person messaging me, and he appeared to believe me. But then he stopped talking to me. On my way home from work one day, I saw him exiting the theater with an acquaintance, F28 call her E of mine, kissing and holding hands. I refer to her as an acquaintance because, even though we had a group of acquaintances, we were never particularly close. In fact, she didn't hold back her disdain of my connection, believing him to be out of my league, and she was quite vocal about it. With the limits and people ceasing to hang out, I didn't see or hear from them for the next several months. I was upset, but I was also appalled by my ex's actions. My rage and seclusion aided in my recovery. Last Christmas Eve, when I was at my parents' home, my sister, F28, who is closer to E, informed me that E had volunteered to hold her wedding at her summer house, more of a mansion, for free, and my sister was overjoyed since she and her fiancé could never afford a place like that. My sister informed me that since E was so kind, she asked her and my ex to the wedding. I was furious and questioned her how she could do this to me before leaving my parents' home in tears. I subsequently regretted being angry at my sister since she was not the one who had wounded me, so I phoned to apologize. She thanked me, expressed her joy, and asked me to be her maid of honor. The wedding took place in August. My mother and I, along with my sister's closest friend, handled all of the preparation and worked virtually all day every day for the week leading up to the party. The wedding took place across 3 days, beginning with a rehearsal dinner on Friday, followed by the ceremony on Saturday and a brunch celebration on Sunday. My sister gave a speech at the rehearsal dinner, thanking everyone for their efforts. She then thanked the host, E, for her kindness and informed her that she had a surprise planned for her. The ex-boyfriend then dropped down on one knee and asked her to marry him. I was so embarrassed that I wanted to puke. I said nothing and did not participate in the cheering. I wanted to flee, but I couldn't spoil my sister's wedding, so I remained the following day and left the next morning. She has deceived me, and I can't help but feel betrayed. She could have at least informed me of her intentions. She phoned me after her honeymoon to tell me it wasn't her secret, and that E had organized the whole thing and she couldn't say no since she didn't want to be disrespectful to the host. If she believed a flawless party was worth harming her own sister, I told her to go herself. She called me spiteful and envious, then hung up. Since then, we haven't talked. This Christmas, I informed my mother that I would not be present. She was furious and ordered me to mature and quit blaming the world. I'm not the first person to get dumped, and maybe I shouldn't have cheated if I was so in love with him. I shouted at my mother, and now I don't speak to her. I know it's not my mother's or sister's fault, and I'm worried I've grown resentful and bitter, as they said, but I'm so upset that it seems like physical anguish in my heart. How can I let go of my resentment? Story 2. My 26 male GF 24 female told me she is pregnant, but I am sterile. Backstory. I was in an accident after graduating from college and will never be able to bear children. No one in my family is aware of this. They are aware of the disaster but are unaware of this. I'd always wanted to be childless, so it didn't bother me too much psychologically. I completed my master's degree last year and had never dated before. Through campus placements, I was able to get a very high-paying position. My parents wanted me to marry as soon as I got a job, but I wanted to work on myself and explore a little. They replied no, so I claimed it was my desire. I had always done what they wanted, and when I spoke out against them for the first time, they were furious. This was last year, and they quit up shortly after COVID began. So I downloaded various dating apps and browsed through them, but I had no success. Then my parents introduced me to the daughter of a family friend, and we sort of connected. In retrospect, I was a fool. She said okay to whatever I suggested and never protested. It made me feel strange. I wanted her to convey her interests, but all she said was that she was interested in everything I did. I didn't give it much thought. I told her that I would never have children, and she, to my surprise, responded okay. I was thinking, gosh, she's surely the one since it's incredibly difficult to find a childless spouse in my country, or so I thought. But we were in the early stages and I hadn't informed her about my injury. To cut a long tale short, we had about a month ago, and I used condoms since safety comes first. She began ghosting me a little the following day. I assumed it was because of my performance in bed, so I gave her some space. Then she texted seldom, just responding with OK and KS and one-line responses. I assumed she was upset because she wanted to stop the relationship, but I left it at that. Her whole family came to my home yesterday, and she says she is pregnant, with me as the father. Needless to say, I was terrified and wanted to fall on the ground. I didn't say anything when they were discussing marriage and other things that needed to happen since I got her pregnant. Please advise me on the next actions to take. Reddit. Update. First and foremost, I want to express my gratitude to all of the Redditors who took the time to read my post and provide me advice. I was stunned by the number of responses, especially since many of you mentioned it wasn't even my child. Looking at it from a new angle provided me a far better understanding of the problem as a whole. I contacted my supervisor and requested the day off. I contacted a few clinics about getting tested and was offered a time slot on Friday afternoon. Then I went to the shop and got several pregnancy tests, and I invited just her to my house the next day, i.e. today morning. I also contacted my parents, and before I said anything, my mother asked if I had any good news, which astonished me and made me wonder what she was talking about. She then pretended to be stupid, and I realized that the situation was even worse than I had imagined. I hung up the phone and wept all night till 3 a.m., a mature man sobbing for the first time since 8th grade. She arrived with her parents this morning, despite my request that she come alone. They were under the notion that I was going to talk to them about engagement arrangements. They screamed when I instructed them to wait outside and called her in. I told them they could all go back or allow her in alone, and they said okay. I pulled out the pregnancy tests and handed them to her, telling her she needed to verify she was pregnant and showing her where the restroom was. She began yelling at me, something she had never done before, and I was taken aback. Then she walked out the door and summoned her parents. Everyone in my house is now yelling at me since I wanted her to verify the pregnancy without even a DNA test. I ordered them to, and an hour later my parents and they all showed up to my house and spilled the beans. My parents were scared that I was growing too old for marriage and wanted me to marry and give them grandkids, despite the fact that she was never genuinely pregnant, as many Redditors claimed. They said that in arranged weddings, there is no need for individuals to get to know the partner since parents only chose the best for their children. They had prepared everything and were only waiting for me to have with her to execute it. I burst into tears once again. I've always done exactly what my parents wanted, always gotten good grades, and never asked for anything. In between tears, I ordered them to go out and never speak to me again, and they claimed that parents know what is best for their children and that I should do what they say. Then I became enraged and ordered them to themselves in my own tongue, which was really offensive. For the first time, I believe they realized I was serious about them, and they all went. I blocked them all before sending a message to my parents to never contact me again in my life, even if one of you is dying. I cried some more, watched more dog videos, and read over all my Reddit posts, and I feel like I owe you guys an update since it was you people who helped me accomplish this. That's all I have to say, and I hope you have a good day.